Hello, drummers of the world, and welcome to Believe in Music Week. Thanks for joining us for the Dixon Drummers Roundtable. I'm Jim Uting, the product manager for Dixon Drums in the United States, and I will be manning the live chat on this session along with the Q&A. If you're watching live, I'll do my best to answer all your questions as soon as possible. If not, we'll definitely answer the questions once it's over. And then if you're watching this pre-recorded, look for me, Jim Uting, as a team member in the Dixon Drums or the St. Louis Music page, and we can communicate back and forth all you want. So we only have 30 minutes, and that's not much time to talk drums. So I'll jump right into the panel introductions here, starting with the unlimited Gregg Bissonette, who spends most of his stage time about 10 feet away from the great Ringo Starr as the drummer for the All-Star Band. Gregg, how you doing?
Hey, great, Jim. Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. I'm on my artisan kit here in Southern California, and glad to be on with you.
Cool. And then next we've got Jerry Gaskill. You know, he's the unforgettable driving force behind everybody's favorite power trio, King's X. Welcome, Jerry.
Thanks, Jim. Great to be here. Just hanging out just like Gregg is in my little studio here at home.
Awesome. Glad to have you. And then we have Jules Radino, who provides much more than just cowbell behind Blue Oyster Cult. And he's also an awesome teacher and a great inspiration to young drummers. So, hey, Jules.
Hey, Jim. How are all the drummers out there? This is Jules over in New York at my studio. Glad to be here.
Great. And then last but not least, we have John Mader, who is shaking it up in LA in the drum seat below the stage at the Broadway smash hit Hamilton. And also, you know, as the whole COVID thing came down, he was just starting to sit behind John Fogerty and rock that band. But then COVID halted everything and changed our livelihoods. But we'll talk more about that. But hey, John, how you doing?
Oh, good. No, I'm good. Hey, everybody. John Mader here. It's great to see all of you. Great to be here at this roundtable talk with all of these incredible drummers. I'm thrilled to be here.
Cool. Welcome, John. So that brings us to the topic of our session, which is appropriately named Time on Our Hands. So, you know, prior to COVID, in fact, a year ago, almost today, you know, a lot of us were in Anaheim, California at the Real Damn Show, you know, doing our thing. You know, our years were planned, the tours were scheduled, the sessions were scheduled, the shows, the lessons, and all at once, screeching halt. And that's the one thing that we all have in common and how it affected our professional and personal lives. So, Gregg, starting with you, take us back to March and tell us a little bit about, you know, what was ahead for you and how you experienced that, you know, dead stop.
Yeah, well, I remember the first thing was getting a call from Ringo, and he was waiting as long as he could to not cancel, but postpone. And he said, we're not canceling, we're postponing. Instead of May, June, and September, October U.S. tours in 2020, we're postponing them to May, June, September, October tours of 2021. And so that was the first thing. And then I was also booked to be out with Jerry on a cruise that the band Yes was putting together, Cruise to the Edge, with all these different bands. And I was going to be the drummer in a band that Steve Lukather has called Nerve Bundle. So that was canceled. And we were also going to go over to Japan and play Billboard Live. I was supposed to do a Victor Wooten and Steve Bailey tour that was also canceled. And then I got around beginning of April, I got a call from the Eagles saying that their Hotel California tour had been called home. They were already out for a month or two, but that they were rescheduling for a date in September. And their drummer, Scott Krigel, you know, Don Henley plays on a few songs, but most of the show is Scott Krigel. He's been there since the Hell Freezes Over tour. His daughter was getting married on the first day of the tour. And so they asked if I could learn the whole show and play the Pepsi Arena one show. And with the Eagles, it's intense because Don is the drummer and he wants, if it's not, bop, go, and it's you better have exactly all the fills. So I spent a month learning the whole Eagles show and had everything transcribed. And then they called and said, we're postponing it yet again and can make it. So, we'll pay you for learning all the songs kind of thing. But it's just been a crazy year. And I have to say, Jim, Frank Rosato well, and I know you do too, John. And I don't know if I think Jules has played there, and I don't know if Jerry has, but there's a great studio in Sherman Oaks near my home. And a couple of years ago, we started doing tracks for people remotely. And so that's worked out great because people now can send the files to Frank, and then we go in, I play on them, and he sends them back. And so that's worked out great. But it's really been a huge, huge game changer, this virus for everybody.
Well, Jules, so wasn't there a new record release that was, kind of lined up with this whole thing?
Yeah, we were in the process of recording the new record, first one in 20 years with BOC, which was really fun just to be a part of that. And we were stoked. We did the basic tracks just before we went into lockdown. So I was lucky enough to get all the drums done end of January, early February, and then we got shut down. And we had a huge tour planned. We were going out with Deep Purple in the UK and all these other huge festivals, music festivals, some things that we did with Jerry and King's X back a few years ago, Grass Pop, all of that kind of thing. And it got shut down. Luckily, with technology today, we were able to finish the record, and it got released in October, thank goodness. But we haven't been able to tour or, support it in any way. And we're hoping to do it this year, but we'll see. Everything's up in the air still, and we're just trying to, make our way through this whole mess.
So I know you're heavy into the private lessons. How, did it affect that at all?
I'm lucky enough. I built my studio last year, and that was a godsend that I did. It's separate from the house, so with my wife and my son being home, it's been a great outlet. And I've been doing Zoom and Skype lessons online for years, and it's been going pretty well. And then with this happen, that's all I did for about 2 months. And luckily, I had it down, and I have a good structure of students. I have like over 30 students that I do weekly, and they all stayed with me, and we did that with the Skype thing. And it was a learning experience for some people that weren't used to it, but it with today's technology, thank goodness, it's all worked out.
Good. And we'll actually dig into that just a little bit later. But
Sure,
moving
absolutely.
on to Jerry Gaskill. Hey, Jerry.
Hey, man.
So, tell us a little bit about where your head was at. I know you were coming out of some, a little scary health, issue there. Tell us how Jerry Gaskill's doing.
Well, you're right. I did have a bit of a health scare at the end of 2019. And I thought I was going to have another open heart surgery. That's what I was being told, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying, I don't want to do that. How can I do that? I've got touring to do next year. I'm telling all the doctors, I've got to be ready by January. And this is like October. But fortunately, that did not happen. It was determined that I could take care of this with medication, and I'm doing great. I'm really doing
That's
great.
Good news to us all.
Awesome.
Yeah, I always say I'm doing better than ever. I really am.
So what
At least
did
that's
you
what I believe.
So what was planned for 2020, and what came to a halt?
Well, 2019, we recorded a new record, which we're very excited about. And then 2019 started with us on a cruise, and then another cruise that we're going to be on with Gregg, the Yes Cruise he was talking about. And we had the entire year planned. We were going to go, we're playing this all over the world, playing in the States, places we hadn't played in a long time. We're very excited. Going to Europe for the first time in a while. And, just like everybody, we had the whole year planned, and then it was all completely wiped away. And we were thinking, oh, we can do it. We'll do the shows in September. Okay, we'll do it in October. with hope that it might happen. And of course, like all of us, none of it has happened, and don't know when it ever will happen personally.
Absolutely.
So,
It's weird to get up in the morning and think, okay, do I have to put my shoes on today or not? Well, okay, John Mater, give us a
Yes.
report from Materville.
Well, let's see. Where was I last March? I was in the pit at the Pantages in Los Angeles. We were doing we were doing a dress rehearsal ready for the first night of Hamilton, the first preview show. And we were in the middle of the dress rehearsal that afternoon, and that's when they notified us and they said, we're deciding to pull the plug. And so I felt so bad for the band because it was an all new band. I've done the show up in San Francisco and 2 years ago in Los Angeles. But the band was all, everybody was psyched, learned all their parts, ready to go. And then just to have it yanked out, I felt so bad for those guys. I had a bunch of dates booked with John Fogerty in Europe and a residency in Las Vegas because Kenny Aronoff had something else going on. And I had another tour in Europe with Carl Verheyen from Supertramp booked. I just finished a recording with him with two other drummers, with the great John Ferraro and the great Chad Wackerman. And so I was really looking forward to that, and all gone.
Well, and that again, John, another great segue here. So let's go back to you, Gregg. Okay, so it all went down. We all figured out what lockdown meant for all of us. Let's talk a little bit now of how we all adapted, which really brings us up to current day. So, Gregg, I know a big part of your life is in the studio. What happened?
Well, like I keep harping about, to all my friends who say, well, how are you recording if you're not able to all get together? I just thank God every day that I've got my buddy Frank Rosado at Woodcliff Studios, where we've got my deep purple sparkle artisan kit set up and mic'd up. And so TV shows like Family Guy, all of a sudden they're sending me the tracks to Family Guy, and I'm playing on that. That's like union work. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be at Capitol or Ocean Way or A&M or you could do union work anywhere as long as there's a contractor. So that's union work that helps with the health and welfare and all that stuff and the insurance and all that stuff. But the lesson thing too has been great over at Frank's, because I can do FaceTime lessons and Zoom lessons from Woodcliff Studio. But also there's a new project that right when the lockdown happened, my good friend Caleb Chapman, who Peter Erskine recommended me to years ago, he has this really great band program in Utah, and he started a new concept called the Dream Band. So Billy Sheehan on bass, Steve on guitar, and Mark Rivera, who's Ringo's musical director and Billy Joel's musical director. He used to play with John Lennon's band. He used to be in Foreigner, and he's the singer, and he plays sax and percussion. We started this Dream Band, so people from all over the world could join this virtual Dream Band. And Caleb's got all the technology. We would get people from England, from everywhere, and we did 3 songs. We did Can't Do That by the Beatles, All Right Now by Free, Simon Kirke, and we did Charlie Watts, not Honky Tonk, Brown Sugar. So everybody would record their parts. They kind of talk together. We'd have weekly meetings. And so this thing's called the Dream Band. And Caleb Chapman's company now has a thing called Artist Access, where you can do work through them, and it's all virtual. So people are thinking out of the box, And so Caleb's one of those guys. So that's been one of the greatest saving graces for me, is that I've got Frank Rosado there. And Frank's so great. I show up. He's got my table with Sharpies, different colored Sharpies for different takes. He's got the legal pad. And then we've got a big iPad where the producer for anywhere in the world can just zoom in. We'll talk about the chart. We're listening in real time. And I'll make a chart of the tune. Sometimes they'll send PDF charts and Frank will print those out. He's so organized. He's got the drums sounding great as always. Then he flips it around with the camera and they watch me playing. And it's almost like these producers are in the same room with you. And I can hear them in my phones and there's no delay. And he's running everything through his board. So it's been just a real blessing.
Yeah, and I can say I've experienced that firsthand as a client, because we do a lot of Dixon demos there. And and I didn't, I was able to direct and help produce without even leaving the house. So gosh, you can't tell. I mean, that's here to stay. But it sounds to me like, kind of like the comment that Jerry made, that from a touring standpoint, it got to a point where you guys were like, okay, we keep putting this off. It keeps getting pushed out further. Call me when you're ready.
Well, I'm pretty hopeful. I guess I'm always the eternal optimist. But Ringo's tour producer called a few weeks ago, and I said, "What do you think the chances are of us, going on the road in May, June, and then September, October?" And he said, "Well, with the vaccine and with everything, I'm thinking." 75% for May, June, 95% for September, October. So I'm just holding on to that. That could wash away next week. But I just want to try to focus on the positive, and I am being optimistic. And this can't last forever.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, let's no particular order here. Hey, Jerry, tell us a little bit about your adaptation and what you're doing.
Okay. Yeah. When this first started, like everybody, I was hopeful that we're going to be able to do shows as time goes on, like I was saying earlier. Of course, that didn't happen. And at first I got very unmotivated. It's like, everything just felt like there's no purpose. I felt like the world was coming to an end, all kinds of stuff. And so I finally, after threatening for many years to build my own studio at home, I did it. And I kept getting these calls from our manager. I was like, "Are you available to do a show here? You available to do a show here?" And I said, "Well, I'm available when the world's ready." And he said, "Oh, that sounds like a good song title." And so from there, with my new home studio, I decided to write a song. I'm available when the world is.
Yeah,
and it was very exciting to do that. And that's what I've been doing. I'm learning to play bass. I'm playing the guitar. I would write a song. I'd pick up the bass. Okay, I got to do the bass part now. Having not one single clue where to even put my fingers on the thing. And I end up somehow coming up with these bass lines. I think that is really cool. And the songs come together. And that's kind of what I've been doing. And I've also done this thing called Meat Hook, which people call in and we talk about whatever you want to talk about, whatever. And people pay a certain amount of money. And at first I was thinking, I can't do something like that. How could I have people pay me to talk to me? I do that all the time anyway. But it's turned into a really good thing. The people love it. I love it. And it's like making new friends. And it's a beautiful thing. And that's basically what I've been doing.
Well, cool. Well, you bring a thought to my head that I know all the music retailers out there would love to hear. And is that you took on an instrument, you took on a project without really knowing how to do it. And as most people do late at night, and you're just searching through YouTube for videos and bands and live performances, I came across an interview with the Cranberries. And it was fun to hear because they said as a trio, they didn't know how to play their instruments. They learned by just playing. And he said as they got successful, they realized that's what led to their unique sound.
Exactly.
And which led to their success. So they couldn't help but kind of laugh about it from time to time. And that's what the music world needs, is more people to not be intimidated by musical instruments, not think it's part of your computer, but just grab an instrument, start playing and writing songs. So we want to hear the finished track soon.
Oh, you will. You will.
Good. Well, Jules, back to New York. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
Well, that first of all, that was beautiful, Jerry. I love hearing stories like that, especially
Oh,
learning new instruments and stuff. That
thank you.
everybody should do that. Um, with me, there's a few different things. I mean, we know music isn't going away and anytime soon, and I think this pandemic sort of even strengthening that to an extent where people are starved for music, they're starved for education in music, they want to learn instruments, they want to get better at their craft. So doing that, I got more into doing even more online lessons, really pushing it hard, and it's been, my website's revamped that, and it's been great. Playing wise, um, I'm a closet jazz head, and I I love jazz, and I formed a trio with a band, and we're actually doing some local shows and things like that where we can. And for me, that's a blast. It's just helping me as a player. I also I did some recording online with some people, and the producer who was doing it really liked what we were doing, and he put me in touch with somebody else, just like how it's all about networking. And I got into this group with a gentleman by the name of Mike Holtzman, and it's called Bad Penny. And we needed some players. I brought in Todd Latore, the good singer from Queensryche. We toured with them. I got Danny Miranda playing bass, who played with me. Plays with me in Blue Oyster Cult. He was with Queen. Paul Rogers, and Queen. Just a great bass player. And we've been putting out some tracks, and we released something. It made the top 40, the first track we released, and we just did a couple other things, and it's been great. We go up to Jerry Murata's studio up in Woodstock, New York, and that's been a blast. So that's just another avenue that I wouldn't have been able to do if I was just on the road with BOC, chugging along and hitting it, just trying to think outside the box in terms of education. I'm writing a book that's almost finished, and just trying to stay busy. And during this pandemic, it made me realize as a drummer, we're always sort of in the back. We have to think ahead, and how can we make a living? Like John was saying, you got to pay the mortgage. This is what we do. How do you make a living just playing drums, without relying on maybe a band or something else?
Agree. And it doesn't hurt, my experience too. The whole slowdown, uh, from my perspective, not only as a drummer, but a product manager, it sure helped my productivity and my creativity to slow down and take the process slower. And this kind of allowed us all to do that. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I like Jerry said, the first month I was sort of in the doldrums and just like, what is going on here? You don't know what to take, but you sort of hit the reset button, and after you do that, okay, what can I do? And you start thinking in terms of planning things different. And yeah, I totally agree. That's what you have to do for sure, and it's helped me as a player and as a person for sure.
Great. So let's move back to the West Coast. John Mater, tell us a little bit about how you adapted to all of this.
Well, first of all, I got to say I'm so inspired by what you guys are saying. It's so awesome and kind of therapeutic in a way. And Jerry, I appreciate you being really honest about the little depression that you felt in the beginning of. I mean, that's what I went through too. I think I came out to my garage and literally had a good cry on a couple of days because I felt a little lost. And but the cool thing about this and that comment about things slowing way down and the reset button. I think that for us as artists, the creative process sometimes involves getting off of your daily routine, like having the time to be quiet and to think and to pursue different interests, pursue different musical interests, such as you, Jules. And so for me, like Jerry, people had been asking me for years and years, do you have a recording setup at your home? And I always felt very intimidated by it. I didn't want to get into that. And I just decided, wow, this is, again, albeit for the wrong reason, but this is a tremendous gift of time to explore something new. And so, yeah, I got into it, took some Pro Tools lessons, bought some mics, and I was in the process of redoing my garage to set it up for it to be a recording environment. And I started getting calls to record right away. I didn't even have time to get that done. So I've got rugs and everything hanging everywhere, and it looks horrible, but it sounds great. And I'm so excited about it. And I looked around, and more to Jerry's point, I noticed, well, I have a guitar and I have a bass. Maybe I should just start fooling around on my own. So Jerry, I'm so inspired by what you said about just going for it. And you know, there's so many great, look at all the great blues artists that are legendary and didn't know anything. Like they just learned it organically. They learned their instrument organically. And so I'm a big proponent of education and getting some kind of formal education. But you know, sometimes it's good to kind of mix it up a little bit and just to go for something, just kind of on your own and organically, as I said. So, yeah, that's kind of been my thing, and getting into this recording thing. And of course, when we moved here from Oakland, we moved down here because I was just doing so much more work in Los Angeles than up in the Bay Area, and then I got Hamilton invited me down. We bought a fixer-upper down here, and so it's been great to have the time and the wherewithal to get the place, you know, in much better shape. And so that's been really awesome, and I really enjoy doing that, and it kind of feeds my soul. And I think during these times you really have to ask yourself, what can I do in my current environment to safely feed my soul? And make sure you do it. So
Yeah.
I'm jogging every day. I'm in better shape than I've ever been. I feel great. I'm playing music all the time at home. I'm inspired. You know, pivot. I'm pivoting just like everybody else.
Well, awesome. Well, we're actually, like I said, 30 minutes isn't very long. We're running out of time. So this last segment, I'm going to limit you to about a minute each. And we're going to start with Jerry, because Jerry used the word hope. So what is your outlook or message or, you know, philosophy going forward?
Well, like I said, I'm trying to stay hopeful. I will admit sometimes it's hard. I want to believe that we will continue to maybe tour, get out there and play. But I also know that if for some reason we can't tour, if we can't get out there and play for the people, we can always make music. I can make it at home. We can release it. We can all do that. And I definitely find hope in that. You know, music is hope in itself. And we all do that. And I think we're all going to continue to do that.
Awesome. Well, Jerry, thanks for joining us. It's always great to catch up with you. And man, we're looking forward to that original song.
All right. Let me tell you here's the first line of the song. I couldn't remember earlier, but it's, I'm available for shows and secret smiles when the world is too.
Beautiful, Jerry.
Awesome.
The next, I gotta say the next one real quick if I can. This is a secret smile. I'll follow all the rules. I've got a mask or two, but still don't know what's true.
Oh man, that's good.
So that's kind of where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
And who's going to play drums on the song?
On that song? I was hoping Gregg, John, and Jules would.
All right.
Hey.
Cool.
I love
Well,
it.
thanks again, Jerry, and we'll do this again soon.
Okay, thank you so much, guys.
Well,
See you, Jerry. Great
Jules.
song.
See you,
Jerry.
See you, man.
Jerry.
Jerry, Jerry.
Jerry.
All right. Well, Jules, that's a hard act to follow. But let's
you
talk a
can't-
little bit. I mean, do you expect the touring to just pick up where it left off?
Um, to pick up where it left, I hope it does. I mean, I'm optimistic that with the vaccine and we're going to be moving forward. I mean, I'm hoping by summertime that we're moving and that we're touring, and I hope we are. If we're not, we'll stay busy as drummers. As John was saying before, you have to pivot. We all have been pivoting, and we've been having our paradigm shift and start thinking in a new way, and it's been working. And people want music; they need music. I said earlier, I think it's going to be the Roaring '20s once this whole thing ends, and I really do believe that. I think Jerry, to harp on something he said earlier, that sometimes bad, tragic events happen, but then a lot of good comes out of it, and even better. And I really believe that as a human race, that we're going to get through this, and we're going to be stronger, and it's going to be better, and the touring is going to be better.
Well, good. Is that the message that you give to your students? What do you tell your students that ask questions?
Yeah, I mean, the message I give my students: you better practice. Just practice on the days that you eat. That's what I get. No, the message, I don't teach a lot of kids or adults that are touring and stuff, but I'm more available to them now in terms of teaching, because I'm not on the road, and they seem to appreciate that a lot, and I appreciate that, and I'm learning a lot from my students. Gregg was saying that, yeah, we all want to, play in front of people, and that's what we want to do, and that's what we do. But on the teaching end, it's great to see the joy in kids' eyes when they learn a new song for the first time, or they've played a gig and, they come back to me and they're just, going crazy. And we want to get back to that, and we will. And it's all positive, and it's all good stuff. And
Great.
That's the message I try to exude.
Cool. And thanks, Jules, for joining us, man. Always great to catch up with you.
Yeah, great seeing you guys.
So,
too,
John
Jules.
Mader. So,
Jules.
what's the plan for? What? And there's a lot of people holding tickets for Hamilton.
Oh yeah. So we're hoping sometime in the fall. There hasn't been a definite start date, because there's just there's so much that we still don't know yet. But I'm hopeful. I am predicting fall for the show to start again. And I just want to say that there will always be a need for art, for people's souls, emotion. And our job as musicians, as I see it, is to elevate people's emotions, to raise them up through the experience of music, be it whether or not we're recording or we're performing live. And certainly that was my experience when I first got into music, is because it just reached out and grabbed me, and it was my emotional salvation. And I think people are going to people need that so much now, more than ever, that I think it's going to come back in earnest, just as Jules said, like the Roaring '20s. In fact, there was a poll taken recently, and they were asking people, what's the first thing that you want to do once this whole COVID thing is done? And of course, the first thing was, I want to go out to dinner I want to spend time with my loved ones. So my friends, my family, I want to be able to embrace them, of course. But right under that was, I want to go out and experience some live music. And so, man, people are going to be ready. That the whole industry could come back stronger than ever, because sometimes you don't realize, sometimes if you don't have something, you tend to appreciate it a little bit more. And as Jerry was saying, that out of tragedy can become something amazing can happen because of that. And I think people are going to be loving each other so much more, embracing each other like they really mean it, looking at each other straight in the eyes when they're talking, and being in the moment, such as just as Gregg said about Ringo, and I really think that it's just going to be this whole emotional awakening of what is truly, truly important. And my students are just doing great, man, because they've got time. They've got time to sit at home and practice. They've got time to think about music. So, and because of that, their joy that they're getting out of music is so much more intense right now because, one, they need it, but two, they're having more time to foster their gift. And so that has been an interesting byproduct of this whole thing.
Which is a great statement, because what is the format that we're presenting this roundtable on? It's believe in music. It's intended to keep the music industry strong because the music is strong and it'll be a big part of any resurgence. So Gregg, your final thoughts.
Oh, thanks, Jim. Well, I could not agree more with everything John just said and everything Jules said and everything Jerry said. So, yeah, for me, it's hope that we're all going to be back, like just like Jules said, the roaring 20s, and like John just said, more excitement about going out to eat and hugging your family members, number one, and going to see live music. And I feel the same way about teaching. My degree in college was music ed because I love to teach. My favorite thing, as I'm sure everybody is to play for people. Probably my number two thing would be to record and do albums. But number three is not a low on the totem pole thing. It's teaching, doing drum clinics and teaching private lessons. There's nothing like the feeling of showing somebody a new groove, especially when they're playing with a song. And then they connect, and they just get into that groove. And Ringo calls that the number one beat he showed his son. He said, when my son was young, I showed him the beat. Which beat? And when Zach got that, I showed him the other beat. What other beat? The other beat. And when you see the smile on a kid's face, or even I teach older retired people that I want to start playing drums. That feeling you get from giving, it's kind of like, hey, it's Christmas, here's a gift. Giving, you get more out of giving than you do getting. And when you can give a lesson to somebody and you see the excitement and the joy, that's what I had with great teachers and my mom and dad being pro musicians. That giving is so important. And so you're giving in all aspects. You're giving when you're teaching, and you're giving when you're recording. You get to record things for people to hear, and you're giving when you're playing live. So I just see all three of these things. I'm just hopeful that all three of these things will keep growing. And maybe, kind of like John was saying, sometimes when you don't have something, you miss it, and you can't wait to get back to it. I think that's what's going to happen. I'm hopeful that's what's going to happen. And we're all getting a chance to slow down and kind of reset and regroup. And I think, like Jules said, the roaring 20s, that's what I want to think about.
All right, that's exciting. Well, time to wrap it up. Maybe we'll do this again sometime. I think it's a great idea. Like I said, believe in Music Week. If you're watching this video, you've registered. You're online with all sorts of musicians, all sorts of retailers, all sorts of brands and vendors from around the world. And if you have questions, then reach out and ask. In fact, you can find me on the team list of both St. Louis Music and Dixon Drums. I can answer any question you have about our brand and our products. And then I can also make sure that if you have any questions for John, Jules, Gregg, or Jerry, that those questions that can get answered too. So enjoy the virtual NAMM show. Hopefully we're all back a year from now in Anaheim, California, doing this live. And there's a virtual version to add to it and make it bigger and more accessible. So thank you to everyone. Believe in music. Believe in Dixon Drums, because we believe in you.